Kaamtown is a very old base on 2B2T. It was created in 2012 by Cameron, Alouneri, Spit Kane, and XCC2. What's unique about this base is the variety of players who base there. From medieval castles to illegal items and backdoors, I'll be telling you the history of Kaamtown from the perspective of XCC2. The story begins after Ziggy Base was griefed. The players Spit Kane and Alouneri left to go find chunks in a jungle biome, which was new at the time. After finding some jungle chunks, it was decided to build what would become known as the Jungle Saucer Base. Spit Kane immediately created a tower of chests and water. Alouneri started building a brick house, and they invited other players to the base. Cameron built his house, and Alouneri started his only build on 2B2T, which he called his Sand Nig Palace. However, he never finished it due to running out of gold. Leon disappeared from the server during this time, and was never seen again. Brand Nillen came and created a small hut and tamed some ocelots. There was a tower lighthouse near Spit Kane's chest and water build, created by ZXCWBZ1. When XCC2 arrived, he thought about creating a giant jungle saucer. While it was being made, the group dug out the underground for materials and to build a base underneath during construction. POPBOB also arrived, and he created a connecting tunnel in the underground section and dug out a giant pit and staircase to bedrock. X0XP also arrived and made another tunnel with a piston door leading to a strange room with a sculpture decorated with lava. A long tunnel was created leading to another base nearby with villagers and a large sugarcane farm, which was also made by X0XP. Spit Kane created a villager breeder, and they eventually had tons of villagers. XCC2 finished the tunnel near the jungle saucer with stone brick and extended it under Leon's palace to some nearby land where XCC2 was going to build a castle, but it was never started. Eventually, the base was abandoned, and Alouneri, X0XP, and XCC2 built the nearby new NFE. A year or more later, XCC2 came back and restored the saucer and completed Leon's castle. Once the group left the Jungle Saucer base, Cameron, Alouneri, and Spit Kane headed far out and founded Kaamtown, a much bigger and interesting base. When they settled at the site of Kaamtown, XCC2 was given the coordinates and made the journey a few days later. It was a pretty far walk at the time, and Spit Kane had used a mist, which is a tool to display an overview of a Minecraft world to locate the chunks for Kaamtown. He shared a map from a mist with XCC2, which was relatively new at the time. The map had the location of the base, and some sites indicated for a nearby gold farm that Spit Kane was building. Spit Kane also dug a small hole under a mountain and made a pumpkin farm, a sand duper, which was a long-standing dupe that let a player use a piston method to dupe sand and gravel, and eventually dragon eggs. There was nothing else built when XCC2 arrived, and he made a mountaintop temple structure as emeralds were new, so he wanted to use emerald ore in a build. Though it was small, it turned out nice and fit well on the mountain. The next thing XCC2 started right away was his castle. He wanted to try a new style of building, mixing smooth stone with stone brick. He picked a real castle in Ireland called Bunratty Castle to model it off of. It took a few weeks to get it built, and for XCC2, it's his favorite build he ever created on 2B2T. It was finished at the end of September 2012. Around this time, Alouneri and Cameron started building more structures around the base, and a player named Tonad arrived. Alouneri created a stone brick tower and a wood mansion with a lot of wool inside. Cameron made a sandstone tower and a small brick house. Tonad started building his small house with an unfinished tower and a fountain in front. The progress here was slow, and other players were added over the next month or two. Stormtrooper arrived, as well as iTristan and his in-real-life friend, Amigo. They started building two large builds that were never finished. The group worked on building roads around the base during this time. It was around this time period that Spit Kane vanished. He started playing less and less, and his involvement at Kaamtown was rare. He had helped design some interesting wall decorations for the underground steps beneath the castle, and then went off to create the 2B2T newspaper, and then faded away. The base was idle for a long time, and was eventually found and griefed. XCC2's castle was covered in a small lava cast, and there was obsidian everywhere around Kaamtown. They burned Alouneri's wood and wool building, and damaged a few other structures. However, this is just the beginning of Kaamtown's history. Around 2013, there were lots of other events going on around the server. Alouneri and XCC2 started 700 base in February of 2013, and XCC2 was also at Imperator's base, building there as well. Also around this time, XCC2 and others got access to iTristan's Anvil backdoor that let them create infinite blocks. They used those to create stashes at Imp's base. XCC2 went back out to Kaamtown and decided to repair it. The group at Kaamtown knew the player who had griefed it, and he rarely played on the server anymore. When XCC2 came back to Kaamtown, he did it alone. Once it was done, he started telling some players, and they came out to build. These players were Passio05, X0XP, Police Mike 55, Alouneri, Cameron, and POPBOB. Taylor112, Stormtrooper, Slow_Dive, and Herc came later on. Alouneri, Taylor112, and Police Mike 55 built a dock area with a boat. The group was working on an underground rail system, and there was a new dupe involving FreeCam. A player could open a chest in a minecart in FreeCam and then push a button. The minecarts would roll out of range, and then you could empty the chest with the FreeCam window. Then you could go down the rail line to the minecarts, and it would still be filled with the original items. The group duped some items, but the dupe was patched shortly after. However, there was another dupe that came soon after. It was basically the same dupe, except the player had to send the minecarts into the nether. When you went to the nether, the cart was still filled with the items. The group used this and duped a ton of items and had a large chest room in the castle. Several newer builds showed up around this time. Cameron made a replica of a sand temple and a library filled with music discs. Alouneri and Cameron also created a brick/stone house next to XCC2's giant sandstone temple. Someone started creating a giant statue next to the statue of Alouneri, but it was never finished. Behind this, Taylor112 started building a large church, which was also never finished. Stormtrooper built a little house/village area in the jungle. Around this time, the group learned that the owner of 2B2T, Housemaster, was going to run a plugin to remove illegals. XCC2 decided to preserve them in item frames and fill them with spawners, spawn eggs, and fire animations in the halls under the castle. For some years, it was still possible to find spawners and item frames around the base in various tunnels. The base was flourishing, however, there was of course drama. It was impossible for players like Police Mike 55, Taylor112, X0XP, and POPBOB to get along indefinitely. In one notorious incident, X0XP made XCC2 angry by burning down the entire jungle near the base. At the time the group was rebuilding and expanding Kaamtown, they were all using POPBOB'S NHack client. It had all the typical features of a hack client at the time, including ROT13 chat, which was used as encryption in the main chat, so that nobody knew what they were saying. POPBOB was adding features and sending out new versions every few days. Around this time is where the unfortunate events occurred. After POPBOB sent out a new update to his NHack client, he shortly afterwards sent Cameron and Alouneri links to a screenshot of their own computer desktops. POPBOB had included an option in his NHack client to snapshot someone's own desktop and upload the file to him. After this, Alouneri and Cameron lost their minds and quit 2B2T forever. XCC2 stayed at the base, as well as a few others. However, it was just XCC2 and Stormtrooper for a while. One day, a player named Java Zun griefed Kaamtown. XCC2 and Stormtrooper fought him off, and XCC2 killed him in the nether, but they knew he would come back to finish the grief, so it was left abandoned again. At one point when XCC2 was at Imp's base, and iTristan got backdoor access, he placed a spawn and end portal block at Kaamtown. XCC2 and others used it for a while before it was learned about and removed. Around that same period of time, Stupid Walrus came out and did a bunch of restoring near Taylor112's church by adding all kinds of spawners and random blocks. When Kaamtown was finally abandoned, most of the duped items were moved a few thousand blocks away in the nether to a new build site. POPBOB, Police Mike 55, and a few others went there and started a village, but it was never finished. Stormtrooper also moved about 100,000 blocks away and took a lot of duped items and created a small base for himself in the flower biome, which was new at the time. Today, Kaamtown is blown up. Most of the structures are surrounded by lava casts, but the history of the base will go on to be remembered till this day. Thanks for watching. I would like to thank XCC2 and iTristan for the information in this video. Leave a like and maybe consider subscribing for more information like this in the future. Anyway guys, stay fast and see you guys next time.